everyone, this is Mrs. Slauson, one of the Algebra 2 teachers, and I am going over this learning target number 5. This is a first attempt, and it says version 1A because eventually you're going to have version 1B. In my class, I call these exit ticket or content checks. It's content check number 10. If you're with Mrs. Hampton, then it's an exit ticket. So anyway, you will need your graphing calculator. And in this page, we are going over and using this formula. So I'm just going to remind you of what the letters are. So B is the beginning amount, if you want to make note of that. And sorry if I'm using different letters than Mrs. Hampton did, but they'll still do the same job. R will still be using, this is a percent right now, but remember you will have to make it a decimal for the formula. Sorry, you can see that. T is your time, and that's going to be usually in years. And this Y here is your new amount. So maybe pause the video, get all those things written down, but this is the base of the formula that we're going to use for this whole page. Okay? All right, so in the first problem, the value of a mountain bike in dollars can be approximated by this model, this equation, and T is the number of years. So you might have a typo here, maybe it said bikes, but the number of years since the bike was new. So what I want to know first is, does this model represent exponential growth or decay? Well, common sense tells me that it's going to represent decay, because if I buy something new, then over time it tends to lose its value. So it's got to be decay. But the reason why I know is because inside those parentheses is a 0.75. So if I start with 1 and then it goes and it's less than 1, then that means it was decay. And so one way you could explain that is just say that your growth factor is 0.75%. Or not percent, but your growth factor is 0.75. All right, the next question is, what do these different values mean? So 700 is going to be this beginning amount. So this is the price of the bike, brand new. Now I want to know what this 0.75 means. And some of you might think, well, it's the growth factor, so this is what I should multiply by. But what I want to know is in context. And when you say you're multiplying by 0.75, that's more of a process, not what it means. So what they did to get this number in the parentheses is they took 1 and then they either added a rate or subtracted a rate. And since we start with 1 and we end up with something smaller than 1, that means they subtracted that rate. So if you have $1, how much did you spend to get to 75 cents? Well, that's just 0.25. So my R is 0.25, and that's the decimal version. And what I'll want to do is turn this back into a percent. So one way to do that is move the decimal 2 times the right, or just take this on my calculator times 100. And then this is what I'm looking for, what this number means. And so this number means that the price decreases, or the value decreases 25% every year. And so again, I might be asking for that, but this is a process. I'm going to have to look into how the 0.75 came about. I'm going for the R. So at what rate was the bike increasing or decreasing? 25% decreasing. And the pen's going to die here. So, all right, next question. How much will the bike be worth in 2 years? So I'm going to take this equation and just put a 2 in for my time. So to find the new amount, I'll take the original price and then multiplying it by 0.75 1 year, then the next year, but I'll just put the 2 in there. And then since this is just a bunch of numbers, I can be on the main screen of my calculator and just type this in as I see it. So when I'm done, $393.75 is the price of the bike in 2 years. And then how long will it take for the bike to reach half its original value? Well, if it starts with 700, then half is $350, and then I'll be putting that into Y, which is my new amount, right up here. So I'm going to do 350 equals 700, keep that parentheses, and I'm going for T. So since you haven't been taught how to solve for an exponent yet, That'll be next chapter. You have to use your graphing calculator. So you'll want to put one of these into one y and one of these into the other y. I just do y1 and y2. And I have some old stuff in my calculator, so I'm going to clear those out. And I'm going to type in 350 into one y spot, and then the 700 with its decimal into another spot. And then I want to go to the window, and so I want to think about the window. And x right now is t, and t is time, so the least amount of time that will ever happen is 0. And I don't think I'm going to have a bike for 80 years, so I'm going to put 10 years, because I think that's probably as long as I'm going to own a bike. And then y is all about, the beginning amount and the new amount. So the minimum amount the bike will ever be worth is 0. I actually want 350, so I could do 350, but I actually want to go a little lower. I want some wiggle room on the y, so I'm going to go down to 250, and then the most the bike is ever worth is 700, but again, I want some wiggle room, so I'm going to put 900 in there. So that's in my window. I've just pressed this window button here. And now I'm going to hit graph, and here goes my y is 350, and here comes the other side, the 700 with the parentheses 0.75, and then to get to this point, I hit second trace. I choose 5 for intersect. I'm just going to move that cursor a little closer over, and I'm going to enter 3 times. And I'm going for x for t, so 2.409 years. And how do I know to do 3 decimals? Because that's what it said in the directions. Round all your answers to the thousandths place. So that's what I did. All right, next one. You take 425 milligram dosage of ibuprofen. During each subsequent or following hour, the amount of medication in your bloodstream decreases by about 26% each hour. So first we're just going to write a model that represents this. So I want something that looks like this. This is the model. So to find out the new amount of ibuprofen I have, I would take my beginning amount, and then since it's decreasing, I'll do 1 minus, this is a decimal, so if you don't know how to put that as a decimal, you just do 26 divided by 100 on your calculator, and you get this. And then for t, if you don't want to keep this as long, you could actually subtract and just turn it into the 0.74 straight away. So whichever version you want, that's up to you. So how much ibuprofen would be in your bloodstream after 1.5 hours? Well, I'm going to put that in for t. And I'm going to use the shorter version. And then I'm just going to go to my calculator, that is 1.5, and type that in. So I'll go back to the main screen, and just 425, 0.74 exponent, of 1.5. So 270, again, I'm going to go 3 decimal places, and milligrams. All right, now how long will it take for there to be 100 milligrams left? So that means I'm going to go to the y equals and put that in because that's my new amount. And I'm going to put my exponent back as t because that's what I'm looking for. So again, you don't know how to solve for an exponent yet, so this will be strictly graphing calculator. Put 1 into one y, put 1 into another y, any way y you want. So I'll put 100, and then the 425 with my amount to an x power. And then I'm going to hit the window, and I'm going to think about how long will this Tylenol last, or ibuprofen. So ibuprofen, when I read the directions, it says up to 8 hours. So I'm going to keep it from 0 to 10, because that's time. And then the minimum amount is 0. Now, technically, we're going for 100, but I always wanted to have some wiggle room, so you could put 50. And the most Tylenol is what I started with, which is 425. But again, I like some wiggle room, so maybe I'll put 500 there. Whoops. And I should have put 50 here, not 500, missed a 0. So now I'm going to hit graph. Here goes my 100 amount. Here comes the 425. And I'm going to hit second trace now to see where they meet. That's at option 5, and I just hit enter 3 times. And it will take about 5.0, I guess if I'm rounding, hours, and then I've run out of ibuprofen in my body. And that's it. That is your exit ticket or content check number 10.